Welcome. In this explainer, we're going to unpack one of the most important documents in the world, the Constitution of India. Now, this is so much more than just a dry, legal text. It's really the blueprint for a nation and a powerful promise of human rights for over 1 billion people. So let's dig in.
We have to start with these powerful opening words because they tell you everything you need to know about where the ultimate authority comes from. This wasn't a document handed down by a king or some foreign power. No, it makes it absolutely crystal clear. The power comes from the people themselves. They are the ones in charge.
So, the best way to think of the Constitution is like the ultimate rule book for the entire country. And I mean for everyone. Even the government has to follow it. It sets the rules of the game, defining the structure, the powers, and the duties of every single institution in the state.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to break this down into 4 key parts. We'll start with the big picture, the supreme blueprint. Then we'll zoom in on its core promises, see how those ideas actually affect people, and finally, look at the system of protection that backs it all up.
All right, Section 1, the Supreme Blueprint. Let's dive right in and get a handle on where this incredible document actually came from and what makes it the final word in India.
What's so fascinating here is that this wasn't something that was rushed. Not at all. This timeline shows a really deliberate, multi-year journey. The Constituent Assembly got together in 1946, and its members debated and drafted for almost 3 years. The final version was adopted on November 26, 1949, and it officially went into effect on January 26, 1950, the day India now celebrates as Republic Day. And this, right here, is such a crucial point. It establishes a government of laws, not of people. Now, that's different from a system where Parliament's laws are final. In India, the Constitution is the ultimate benchmark. That means if Parliament passes a law that violates the Constitution, the courts can just strike it down. The rule book is king.
So that brings us right to our second section, the core promises. What exactly does this supreme law guarantee to its people? This is where we really get to the heart of its human rights framework.
You see, these are not just lofty, nice-sounding words. They are the guiding ideology for the entire Constitution. Think of the preamble as the nation's mission statement. It lays out the kind of society the Constitution is trying to build, one that's founded on justice, liberty, equality, and a sense of shared community.
Okay, and this brings us to a core concept, fundamental rights. The best way to think of these is as your personal superpowers as a citizen, rights that can't just be taken away on a whim. They aren't gifts from the government, they're inherent rights the government must protect. And, crucially, if they're violated, you can go directly to court to demand they be enforced.
And just look at this list. It really shows you how comprehensive these rights are, covering almost every major part of a citizen's life, from equality and freedom of speech to practicing your religion and being protected from exploitation. These rights form a powerful shield for every single individual.
Now, this comparison is absolutely key to understanding how the Constitution works. On one side, you've got fundamental rights. These are the legally binding must-dos for the government. On the other side, you have directive principles. Think of these more as guidelines, the state's aspirational to-do list for building a better, more just nation. You can't sue the government over them, but they're meant to guide every law that gets made.
So we've seen the high-level promises, but how do these principles actually translate from paper to people? Let's look at a few specific examples of these rights in action.
For example, the Constitution isn't just about some abstract idea of equality. It's about actively enabling change. It gives the state the power to make special provisions just for women, and it tackles economic inequality head-on by mandating equal pay for equal work. That's a foundational principle for gender justice.
Here's another really powerful example of the Constitution being used to overturn a deep-seated social injustice. Article 17 doesn't just discourage the practice of untouchability, it abolishes it completely and makes it a punishable crime. It's a direct shot at dismantling a centuries-old system of discrimination to restore human dignity.
This right makes sure that the state's power is kept in check, protecting individual liberty even when someone is accused of a crime. You literally cannot be detained without being told why. This, along with the right to a lawyer, prevents arbitrary arrests and is an absolute cornerstone of any fair justice system. And for children, the Constitution makes a critical investment in the future. By making education a fundamental right for kids between 6 and 14, it completely changes the game. Education is no longer a privilege, it's an entitlement. And the responsibility to provide it, that rests firmly with the state.
Okay, so this all sounds amazing on paper, but it leads to the most important question of all, right? What happens when these rights are actually violated? A right is only as strong as its enforcement. And that brings us to our final section.
Section 4, the system of protection. Let's look at the actual mechanics designed to make sure these promises aren't just empty words. This is all about the guardians, the watchdogs, and the safety nets built right into the system.
The ultimate guardian of these rights is the judiciary. In fact, the right to constitutional remedies is itself a fundamental right. Think about that. It means any citizen can go directly to the Supreme Court or a high court if their rights are violated. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, one of the main architects of the Constitution, famously called this article the very heart and soul of the whole document. And that protection, it extends everywhere. This landmark question asked by the Supreme Court affirmed a critical principle. Human rights don't stop at the prison gate. The court has repeatedly stepped in to protect the rights of prisoners, from preventing torture to ensuring humane living conditions. It proves the Constitution's reach extends even behind bars.
Now, beyond the courts, there's also the National Human Rights Commission. It acts as a national watchdog, kind of like an ombudsman. Its whole purpose is to provide another, more accessible place for citizens to report human rights abuses, especially when public servants are involved.
And to make sure it stays independent, its leadership is chosen by a high-powered, bipartisan committee. I mean, look who's on it. You've got key people from both the government and the opposition. The whole goal there is to create a commission that can do its job impartially, without political pressure.
The process itself is pretty straightforward. A complaint is filed, the commission investigates, and then it makes a recommendation. Now, while the NHRC's recommendations aren't legally binding like a court order, they carry a ton of moral and political weight. And they often pressure government agencies to take action and help victims.
So we end with this question. The crucial takeaway here is that while the Constitution provides an amazing blueprint and powerful institutions to protect us, the strength of these rights ultimately depends on something else: aware and active citizens. People who know their rights, who insist on them, and who are willing to hold the system accountable. The blueprint exists, but building a better India, well, that's a collective, ongoing project for everyone.